They are so embarrassingly stupid, comical. For example, I don't have any taste, I will go to the end. I remember seeing one where, how do you call it, the plumber, the one who fixes, comes to the house where only the housewife is at home and does his job and says to the housewife, now I fixed that hole. And then she says, but you know, I have another hole to be fixed, and so on. I mean, it's so embarrassing that I think this is censorship. The point is not, they cannot be so stupid not to be able to do a better story. What is prohibited is to have, on the one hand, sex where you see everything, penetration and so on, and at the same time an emotionally engaging story with which you can identify. You must have to make a choice. Either you see it all, but then the narrative will be stupid, or the narrative is engaging, melodramatic, but you don't see it all. What is impossible is take a standard melodrama, like I remember 20 years ago, Out of Africa, Meryl Streep, Robert Redford. They embrace the same film, but just when they embrace, 10 minutes more where you see everything. This is prohibited. This is prohibited. I know that there is now in France a whole school like Catherine Breillat who tries to do this. That is to say, you see everything hardcore, but it's at the same time emotionally serious. But that's why she fails, I think. That's why she cannot really penetrate the wide public. The lesson of this is don't underestimate at how, even where we appear to be most open, shameless. What can be most open, shameless than copulating for the camera? How you pay the price, there still is a censorship. Sometimes we make a pass and establish through proximity. How? I claim through obscenity. And this is what I meant by racist jokes. I remember in ex-Yugoslavia, we had different nations, a wonderful solidarity based on this exchange of obscenities. When I met a Serb, a Montenegro, a Bosnian, we started to tell jokes not about the other, but dirty racist jokes about ourselves. Each nation in ex-Yugoslavia was identified with a certain racist feature. We Slovenes were misers, thrifty. Bosnians are sexually obsessed, Montenegro are lazy, and so on. And the nice thing was that each of us, with pride, accepted this feature and were telling jokes about it. To give you just one short, tasteless example, Montenegro are lazy. And as you probably know, Montenegro is also the terremoto, earthquake country. So the standard joke is, how does a Montenegro guy masturbate? He digs a hole in the earth, puts the penis in and waits for the earthquake, because he is too lazy even to, and so on. But the magic was how this didn't work as racism. This worked as a kind of exchange of obscenities, which basically meant we really acknowledge each other as true friends. It's not just this official politeness. And I claim without this element of obscenity, it doesn't work. If I come here to your beautiful city and say, oh, what a nice church, when was this built? You would say, okay, this is a stupid foreigner patronizing us. But when you tell me a dirty joke about you, then maybe this will be, as they say in Casablanca, the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I remember, to conclude, a wonderful, obscene anecdote that happened to me in the Yugoslav army, which made this point. I was very friendly with an Albanian soldier, also an intellectual, and we wanted to become better friends. We didn't know how. Then one morning, after awakening, I met on the corridor this Albanian soldier. He approached me and told me, I will screw your mother. I will fuck your mother. I knew this was an offer of friendship. So I knew that I had to reply with a similar insult. And believe me, it was very easy. I told him immediately, go on after I finish with your sister. Then we embraced each other, and now comes the really nice part. It's not that from this moment on we were telling each other dirty jokes all the time. No, we were both intellectuals. We were very polite, had intellectual debates, but we knew we are friends. And just to confirm this, every morning when we met, we said not even the whole formula. When instead of saying good morning, he told me mother, I told him sister. And we didn't even laugh. It was just a kind of a token of confidence. Yes, we are still friends. So, I'm aware, incidentally, of the limitations of this example. I am a feminist, and I know that this joke or anecdote relies on men exchanging women as gesture of solidarity. So all I can say is I would like to see a society where also two women meet and one says to the other, I will screw your father, okay, go ahead after I finish with your husband or what like. It would be nice to have a symmetry. But what I want to say is that, you see, this is my universe. Just this openness where you treat the other kindly is not enough in real life. You need both excesses. You need this cold politeness and you need more dirty obscenity. Only in this way it works. First, I don't want anything, I don't have anything in common with those boring attempts in the 60s to bring a synthesis of Marxist humanism and religion and so on and so on. It's a totally different thing that I'm aiming at. What interests me is what really happens in the very center of the Christian experience. Something very strange happens. You have a God who dies. But this is not as in previous pagan religions. A God who dies is not part of this eternal cycle where God returns up, then it's reborn and so on. Something strange happens. After the death of Christ, it's the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is something ethically and so on totally new. My favorite Catholic theologist, Gilbert Keith Chesterton, developed this point nicely when he said, in all other religions you have people who don't believe in God. They admit there are atheists, but only in Christianity you have God himself who, for a moment, as it were, doesn't believe in himself, doubts himself. And he enumerates the moments. For example, that famous, terrifying moment, Jesus on Christ, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, Father, why did you forsake me? And all this goes back to what is for me the first critique of ideology written. The book of, how do you call Job?